March development update. We finally get the major update for the twins and a minor update for the Blight. They also adjusted the Haydenfield map, and we have 3 perks that have been messed with, 2 medium updates and 1 minor update, and then we have some new features that everybody's been talking about. First things up is the twins with a major update. The first change we have is the reduced time it takes to switch back between Charlotte to 1.5 seconds, which originally was 3. And then they also reduced the time it takes to unbind Victor 0.75 seconds, which originally was a full second. Then they reduced the time it takes to charge Victor's pounce to 0.85 seconds, which originally was 1 second. They've added 2 new abilities, one being the ability to recall Victor at any point while he is unbound. And then they added the ability to change between Victor and Charlotte near a hooked survivor. But they did warn that the anti-face camp meter will still fill if you're too close. The devs said that we made switching between Charlotte and Victor more responsive and given the killer the ability to recall Victor at any time so they feel better to play. Another change is Victor's pounce no longer latches onto healthy survivors. Victor can no longer be kicked after successful pounces which do not latch onto a survivor. The new thing with Victor's pounce now latches onto survivors when they are put in the dying state. Other survivors can crush Victor during this to help the dying survivor. Victor will automatically return to Charlotte after 20 seconds. While Victor is attached to a survivor or holding a survivor in a locker, Charlotte gains 10% haste effect. This effect will be lost permanently if Charlotte hits a survivor. What they have also changed with Victor is survivors near Victor while he is latched onto another survivor are no longer revealed by the killer's instinct. Devs noted previously the twins' power heavily encouraged slugging, since Victor could chain together pounces on multiple injured survivors, but only pounce a single healthy one. Furthermore, survivors could often save each other before Charlotte could make it to them. We have flipped this around. Victor will now be much more effective at injuring multiple survivors and instead assist Charlotte, who now moves faster while Victor is latched on and picking up the survivor. This makes it possible for Victor to both injure and down a survivor without being forced to switch back to Charlotte in between. The devs noted we have updated visual terror radius to include Victor's grunts to improve accessibility and added a red glow to Victor whenever he is vulnerable to be crushed to improve visual feedback. And we do have a minor update, and that is to the Blight. The change has improved collision detection to reduce spaces where the Blight slides off objects. The devs noted it could be frustrating to slide off an object you were trying to bump into and end your rush permanently. We have improved the collision detection to make the Blight's rush more consistent. This also fixes any issues which allowed the Blight to incorrectly slide along objects and lunge around tighter corners than intended. Next up, we have Haddonfield. They've updated the map layout and reduced the overall size. And by reducing that, they've reduced the length of the hedges and the fences to create more openings. Devs have noted that the map's long and narrow shape and rows of unbroken fences and or hedges made getting around very time consuming. We have reduced the overall size and added more openings to make it easier to traverse, adjusted various houses to reduce the strength of strong loops, and they've also reduced the number of houses in the map, but all remaining houses can now be entered. The devs noted many houses were closed off, making the map larger without any room for gameplay. We have reduced the number of houses that spawn, though each one that remains will now be open and playable. We've also reduced the strength of some of the strongest window loops to be fairer and more interesting to play. They have also added new pallets and lockers along the edge of the map, updated street tiles to feature more pallet loops, and adjusted pallet loops in the park tiles. The devs noted that the outdoor areas were fairly empty before, encouraging survivors to make a run for the nearest house when they were chased. Since we've reduced the strength of houses, we have added some additional loops to the street and edge of the map to spread out chases and reduce dead zones. And here we have the updates for the perks, the first one being Decisive Strike. The devs noted the survivor is locked in place for part of the stun while they are being dropped by the killer, so it didn't leave them with much time to run away once they hit the ground. We have increased the duration of the stun to give the survivor a fair chance to create some distance. While we were at it, we added a new animation which plays when a survivor successfully uses Decisive Strike to break free to give some visual flair to the perk. Next up, we have Adrenaline. Adrenaline no longer activates if you are hooked when the gates are open. It has also reduced speed boost duration to 3 seconds when it originally was 5. Adrenaline no longer causes you to wake up when facing the nightmare. The devs noted Adrenaline had a lot of exceptions which made it difficult to play around. If a survivor was hooked while the gates were powered, they would be healthy and receive a substantial speed boost upon being unhooked, making it very difficult for the killer to catch them before they could escape. We have made it so Adrenaline no longer pauses when you are hooked. We've also removed the wake up effect when facing the nightmare to clean up the perk, as we've moved away from perks that affect specific killer powers over the years. Last up, we have Ultimate Weapon, that it now reveals survivors' auras instead of causing them to scream, and it reduces the activation time to 15 seconds when initially it was 30, and they have increased the cooldown to 80, 70, and 60 when initially it was 40, 35, and 30. Devs noted that Ultimate Weapon was a jack of all trades, providing both information and a consistent way to interrupt the survivor actions, allowing it to synchronize too well with other perks. Rather than screaming, survivors will instead have their auras revealed. This means it will no longer interrupt survivors' interactions, though survivors won't know that they are being revealed to the killer. Since Ultimate Weapon is easy to activate, it was possible to keep this effect active throughout the entire match. We have increased the cooldown and decreased its activation window to ensure some downtime between uses. And one last little one, it's not a perk, but it is a perk, because now they've removed the ability to lose a pip. It's a minor update, but some would say it's more of a major. The devs noted with emblems being used solely for monthly rewards these days, it felt needlessly punishing to lose a pip after a rough match. This quality of life change will make the emblem system less stressful. This also applies to modifiers. You can enjoy these limited time modes without worrying about your grade. And then one big thing that we have is the store update. This is a major overhaul. They have visually overhauled the entire store. It looks completely different, and they've added a bunch of new features. So they've added a specials tab to highlight items that are on sale. They have a new collections tab that finds cosmetics for specific collections. They've now added bundles containing multiple items at a discounted price. And now we can finally see the Killer Mori animations from the store. And they added a weekly gift that you can claim for free. Devs note the store hasn't changed much since it was introduced in 2018. This update makes it easier to find what you're looking for and allows us to bundle content together at a reduced price. For example, it's now possible to purchase an entire DLC pack through the in-game store rather than purchasing each character separately. And our last and final minor update is to the archives. The devs noted rifts have historically opened the day after or mid-chapter updates, but no more. You can now get cracking on those challenges right away. We have also introduced a new Rift bundle, which includes the Premium Rift Pass, plus 20 tiers at a discounted price. The Premium Rift Pass can still be purchased separately if you prefer. Spring has sprung with this developer update, and I look forward to testing out the twins in the PTB coming up, where all of these changes will head first. Let me know which ones you're most excited to see.